And obviously another one of those right now is Clement Lenglet, the Barcelona defender, 27-year-old, experienced France international. He is one of those plates. We shall see what happens with him. It looks like that one is heading somewhere. If Paratici decides to grab that plate and stop it spinning. At the moment, just a little background if you weren't aware. So he is definitely has been, you've heard me say his name numerous times. He's been on the list of Spurs left-sided centre-backs, and he can also play central centre-back in the back three as well. He's been on the list for a while now. Last summer, Spurs tried to sign him on loan from Barcelona, but actually he turned Spurs down. He didn't want to move at that point. Obviously felt that he could succeed at Barcelona, one of the biggest clubs in the world, and why not? You know, Emerson Royal was the same. He didn't really want to leave either. But obviously his season didn't really go the way he wanted. Lenglet, he probably was on the bench more often than not. He started a fair few of their Champions League games, but mostly was on the bench. Just didn't really work out for him. And now, obviously, his stance has changed, as it would. It looks like another loan offer this time, but it looks like Lenglet obviously is more willing to move this time. And there's talk of an option to buy. And some of the figures I'm hearing, I'm not going to say them because at the moment they're not confirmed in any way, but they are very cheap, the option to buy it sounds like. So I guess with Lenglet, there's a bit of Lenglet logic there. You know, he's a player that apparently Conte likes the look of. He's not on the top of their list, their wish list. We've said this a million times. Guardiola and Bastoni were the top two, but he was certainly in the kind of the mix underneath them. You've heard me, as I said, you've heard me saying his name for a while now. But with him, look, he's, like I say, can play on the left, he can play centrally, he's got excellent technique, I'm told, cultured or educated, whatever cliche you want to put in there, left foot, good anticipation, lacks a bit of pace perhaps, but he's got plenty of experience in big games as well. So it's one of those where I suppose at some point it becomes a bit of a no-brainer. Like I say, I don't think he'll be the only centre-back that comes in. I think if he comes in, it'll be him and another because of the players that are likely to leave in Rodon, potentially Tanganga. I think as a player coming in with experience, again, you heard me say about the ages of those players to begin with, you know, the four that have come in already. This is another one, 27 years old. This isn't a kid. This is someone that's played in the highest level and would come in with a lot of experience to that back line as well. So if it gets done, from what I understand at the moment, it's not quite close there yet between the two clubs. Sounds like certainly Lenglet is very happy to come, and I don't think personal terms are an issue there at all. Certainly sounds like maybe they've already been agreed with representatives, but I don't think in terms of the two clubs, I've been told probably not to expect anything this weekend with regards to him. There's some suggestions that he might actually be coming over to London this weekend. Obviously, there's many sides to that. There's potentially, he's on holiday, so he may well just be looking at London, especially if it could be a future home for him. He may be scouting it out. It may be that he's there ready to come to Hotspur Way if things suddenly do develop between the clubs. So yeah, that is only talk. That's not confirmed or anything, but there is certainly talk that he could be coming to London this weekend. And then if the clubs do come to an agreement, then that can move quite sharpish, and then maybe early next week we get that one advancing and another player that can come into pre-season training. I was trying to think if he's been on international. I don't think he has been on international duty this time, presumably because he hasn't been playing for Barcelona. So you would think he'd be ready to hit the ground running a little early in pre-season rather than having any more days off. So keep an eye on that one. Like I say, I think on the player side of things, all fine and dandy, and there's an expression I don't think anyone has used for a long time. But in terms of the two clubs, still a little bit of a way to go on that. But that can change at any point. It can. That's the beauty of these things. You know, with the Richarlison stuff, you know, I forgot to even mention that earlier. Richarlison, there was a keenness for an Everton to get it done on June the 30th or before the end of June the 30th, because obviously their financial fair play issues and the fact that in terms of getting that on, that the financial fair play season ends on June the 30th. So to be able to get that in their books and for their accounts as having that big old whack of money in, I think it helped them out enormously. And I think all they had to do was having a document showing that they'd agreed a fee. I think that was enough. But in the end, things moved so quickly. I think because Richarlison had agreed terms and everything, and it was all ready to go, or his representatives had, and obviously being able to do the medical in Brazil, it was wrapped up pretty quickly. And then obviously we got the announcement this morning. And yeah, so that's a perfect example that, with Longley, I'm told not to expect anything this weekend with regards to anything like that. But you can't rule it out entirely, because this transfer window had shown with Richarlison, things just suddenly went bang and they just moved into overdrive. So yeah, keep an eye on that. But like I say, maybe something to look out for very early next week. But if it changes, I shall let you know. So that's Longley. Again, I know he's not he's not the one that all the fans want. I've seen this kind of narrative forming on Twitter that he's rubbish. Of course he's not rubbish. He is, like I say, you don't become a France international. You don't get it signed by Barcelona if you're rubbish. That's not really how it works. I know they've made some random signings in the past, but on the whole, you're not going to be. And yeah, I think, again, in strengthening the squad, I think it's a clever move, especially another loan. You can't turn your nose up at those sort of things when it improves your squad and it improves the definitely the quality on the whole. Good what do you call it? Link. It is. It's him and Davies. It may not even be him and Davies. He may be that he's. This is the beauty, the flexibility he gives, that Spurs could then still look at a left. But you never know what happens with the Bastogne situation. That could change as the window goes on. There could, as I was just saying about it, could change quickly in terms of Longley. It could also change quickly in terms of Bastogne. If for some reason PSG, Inter Milan suddenly needed money, then suddenly that situation changed and they maybe say to Bastogne, "Oh, lad, I know you want to stay, but maybe you could really help us out by going." That could change, and that way you've got in Longley a versatile defender, and Bastogne then can come in and play on the left. Or likewise, Bastogne and Davies could be your left options, and let's say maybe they bring in someone like Bremer. Bremer could play there, or even Pau Torres could play on that left-hand side. He's a guy with his versatility that allows you to have that option in who you go for to replace Rodon or possibly Tanganga as well. It's about having quality. That's the key thing. I think we have to get our heads around this now. I think all of us, and myself included, we look at transfers as, why are you not buying him if he's not going to start? It's got to be the best. We want the best. And it doesn't, sometimes the best is actually getting players that create a strong squad. And I think that's what Spurs are trying to do.